Game night rolls around, and there you are with your buddies, all ready to go to play some Dungeons and Dragons. They told you last week where they were going to be headed, but of course, when they all show up and sit down at the table, the first words out of their mouth is that they are prepared and ready to go in a direction that you have absolutely no notice to prepare for. That's the topic on today's Monday Musing. Here and welcome. My name is Timothy, though some people do call me Tim. Monday Musings are an unedited brain dump of information from me to you. So hopefully we can answer the question, which is posed to us by supporter Nathaniel Thomas 9243, who is a guy who's been commenting for a while, and I really appreciate. So really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Essentially, when asked, how to handle these side turns, particularly into like villages or towns or cities that you have absolutely no idea that your players are going to do beforehand, what do you need to prep? What's your minimum work? What are you going to do first? How are you going to survive a session with these kinds of things? There's a number of different points to think about, and I think that first and foremost, it depends a little upon your setting. For instance, if you're homebrewing everything in your settings, then this could be either easier or harder for you depending upon how you world build and what kind of a DM you are. For me personally, I like to run my games in the established setting of the Forgotten Realms. I'm willing to branch outside of that and to try other things. I've done homebrew, Eberron, Magic the Gathering Worlds, all over the place, trying different pieces, but Forgotten Realms is just where I'm comfortable. And one of the things that makes me particularly comfortable about the Forgotten Realms is that there is a wiki entry for practically everything. So all it takes is a quick Google search off on one side screen while I'm talking to my players, and I can pull up useful pieces of information that can either spur my creativity because it has an evocative name that helps me, or it could be that it has the entire write-up there for a random inn in Luskin that I didn't even know existed until I did the Google search. It's kind of an unfair advantage to run in an established setting when you have access to the internet as freely as we do today as Dungeon Masters, and so I tend to lean hard on that as a backup tool for when things go a little bit out of hand. John 4 over at Role Playing Tips or Wizard of Adventure, he gives the concept of back pocket encounters, which is a great way to deal with when things are going a little bit south or a little bit awry, particularly if you're worried about a specific kind of situation like entering a new village, town, or city. Having back pocket encounters that fit that kind of urban theme is a great way to be able to buy yourself a little bit of thinking time, provide a little bit of excitement and interest to the place that you just walked into. For instance, a back pocket pickpocket encounter is always going to catch the party's attention and introduces a little bit of flavor and an NPC into the world, and if that NPC happens to be the woe-begone innocent little thing that turns into their guide through the city, then all the better. You've gained a voice to be able to be heard, or it could lead to some kind of a fun fight or whatever it is that you have in your mind as that encounter to be able to keep things moving but also interesting. Random tables that help you specifically are super important to have on hand. If you struggle with urban encounters and names of inns and streets and other businesses, then having random tables for that kind of information, even if you pick and choose from them rather than doing them randomly, or even if you jot a few down beforehand, like is suggested by Mike Shea over at Sly Flourish, then you can use that to enhance your game. But only you are going to know where you struggle to come up with things on the fly. For me, names kill me all the time. And unless I want to name everybody Jeff or Steve, then I really need to step out of my comfort zone just a tiny bit and do the research, figure it all out, either write it all down, which I'm not a big fan of, or have a random generator like fantasy name generators that helps me to solve my personal problem. It's essentially one of the questions was about how much information you needed to have on hand for a recurring location versus a place that's only getting started. Where do you start? How much do you need? It's always going to be a challenge. I always tell people to build from the smallest possible thing first. Remember that although nowadays we have access to virtual tabletops where we can splay a full top-down map onto a city, players should actually be trying to think from the perspective of their characters, and their characters are not God's eye view on the city. They are stuck down in the trenches. And so some descriptive words of the kinds of homes that they see in there, the state of the streets, little things and little details like that can set the tone for the place. And then after that, you really only need to build out one location at a time. You can do that with prepared random tables or random fit together houses and shops and things like that, or you can come up with it more on the fly depending on how you work as a DM. But you only need to build exactly what they need to encounter, and if you have more material, keep in mind that until you put something into play, it doesn't exist for the players. So even though you might have decided to put the Laughing Cow Tavern in this particular city, if when they came into the city they didn't go to a tavern at all and instead went and dealt with their business and went back on their way, well, then the work you put into the Laughing Cow Tavern doesn't have to stay in the city that you put it in. You can tear it back out, add it to your tables and your prepared materials, and use it some other time. I call it the law of conservation of prep, that I have prepared something, then I will find an opportunity to use it if it fits the narrative, but I don't have to use it, and I don't have to consider it wasted prep, because over the course of the years, I'm pretty much guaranteed to run through it. I apologize for my voice here, it's really going out on me. I would say that in a world with plentiful hooks, your players are more likely to bite on one of your hooks than they are to create their own trouble. And so it pays to maybe have just the hook and a few steps down any direction that people might be going. And if those are interchangeable parts, all the better. Before my voice goes out, I'll finish by essentially just saying that the art of building a location for players can come down to the normal flow of play, where a player says, I want to do this in this town, and you decide whether or not that's possible, and if it is, you adjudicate it and bring it to a resolution until you can again throw the ball back in the player's court to say, what do you want to do about this? So if a player is asking about going to this city that you described, and you mention the muddy streets and the cramped houses, and they say, ooh, geez, well, I'd like to try and find an inn, then all you have to do is focus on that point, find them an inn, give them a few descriptors of this inn that you make up on the fly or you draw from random tables, and then resolve that encounter. You don't have to build the entire location, you don't need these sprawling maps, but if you enjoy that stuff, have at it. But don't lock yourself in too much, and be willing to provide just what the players see, and just what the characters see, and just what those characters can interact with, and realize that your players aren't going to necessarily feel like they are not seeing that place if you're giving a few evocative words and adjudicating the natural flow of play. I hope that answers your question, Nathaniel. Feel free to give us follow-up questions. And as always, thank you for watching and happy adventuring.